I used to think that some places just feel heavy, like the air itself remembers pain. But I never believed it could remember voices until last summer. My Uncle Mark was a firefighter for over 20 years. He was the kind of man who never got scared, not of fire, not of darkness, not of death. But after what happened in that house, he stopped talking about his job completely. Last year, one of the abandoned houses outside our town suddenly caught fire. The local kids used to sneak in there all the time, so Mark and his team rushed inside to make sure no one was trapped. The fire wasn't that bad, just smoke and small flames in the living room. But when Mark shouted, "Fire department, anybody here?" he swore he heard a voice answer back, downstairs. There was no basement on the blueprints, but the voice sounded so real, so human, that he and another firefighter started searching. Behind the kitchen wall, they found a narrow door hidden behind old shelves. It led to a steep staircase going into darkness. Mark said the air down there was freezing, even while the house above was burning. They followed the voice again. "Please help me," it whispered. When they reached the bottom, their flashlights flickered. The batteries were brand new, but the light just faded. And in that dim glow, Mark saw a chair in the middle of the basement with burnt ropes still tied around it. And on the wall behind it, charred handprints, dozens of them, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. Mark shouted, "We're here to help." But the voice that answered this time wasn't human anymore. It sounded distorted, like a recording played backward. Too late. The next second, every flashlight went out and the door slammed shut. They felt heat, unbearable, suffocating heat. Mark fell to his knees, screaming his lungs out until someone from outside broke the wall open. When they dragged him out, the house was still barely smoking. No one else was found inside. But his radio, the one clipped to his chest, had been recording the whole time. And on that tape, you can clearly hear three things: the call for help, the word downstairs, and a woman's voice whispering at the end, "He never let me leave." After that, Mark quit his job. He said, "You can save people from fire, but you can't save the house that remembers it." Moral: some places don't just hold memories, they feed on them. And sometimes when you listen too closely, they answer back. My name is Josh Carter. 3 years ago, I moved to another city, just a regular story. New job, unfamiliar streets, a rented apartment in an old building with thin walls and humming pipes. Living alone turned out to be more expensive than I expected, so I posted an ad looking for a roommate. A few days later, a guy texted me. His name was Adam Kern. The message was short: "I need a place for a couple of months. I'm quiet, don't smoke, won't bother you. No photo, no questions, just that." I agreed, not because I trusted him, but because I needed the money. We met only once when I handed him the keys. He was wearing a gray hoodie, hood pulled low over his face. He spoke softly like someone who hadn't slept in days. Said he studied at night and would rarely be home. And he wasn't lying. I almost never saw him. When I left in the morning, his door was closed. When I came back late at night, the light under his door was on. Footsteps creaked above the floorboards. The faucet ran for a few seconds, then silence. Sometimes I caught the smell of coffee drifting from his room, but he never came out while I was in the kitchen. Every now and then, I'd find an envelope on the table. Rent money, neatly placed, no note. I thought, introvert, Fine by me. There are plenty like that. A week passed, then 2, and small, strange things started happening. Milk disappearing, but the trash bin still empty. The coffee pot warm, though I hadn't used it. Everything in the fridge perfectly lined up, like someone made sure to put every item back exactly where it had been. Once I noticed my shoes by the door had moved slightly. Not much, just enough to know someone had touched them. One afternoon I came home early. I forgot my phone. The apartment was quiet, dead quiet. I knocked on his door. Nothing. I turned the handle, locked. And then I realized the lock was turned from the outside. That chill you get when your body understands before your mind does. Yeah, that one. A few days later, the utility bills arrived. I opened them and froze. For the second room, 0. No water, no electricity. I called the housing office. Must be a mistake, I said. My roommate's been living here for weeks. The woman on the line hesitated. There's only one registered tenant. You, I frowned. No, that's wrong. I rent a 2-bedroom. The contract lists both of us. Let me check. I heard her typing. No, Mr. Carter, the lease shows one name. Yours. I hung up and opened the file in my email. She was right. Only my name, Josh Carter, my signature too, except I didn't remember ever filling out that form myself. I tried to text Adam. The chat was still there, but all messages were gone, completely blank. His contact existed, but no history. I checked the website where I'd posted the ad. No account under his name, no views on my listing, like no one had ever replied at all. That night, I sat in the kitchen and listened. Soft, steady footsteps came from his room. I waited, then I knocked. Nothing. A few hours later, the light under his door went out. I couldn't take it anymore. I took a screwdriver, removed the latch, and opened the door. The room was empty, completely empty. No suitcase, no clothes, nothing. Just a bed, a small table, and an envelope on it. Inside, rent money and a short note. Thanks for the room. I went back home. At first, I thought he meant his parents, but the envelope felt heavy. There was something else inside. It was a copy of the rental contract, the same one I had. Except this one was signed Adam Kern, and in the tenant's field above his signature was my name. My pulse started racing. I called the property manager. Miss Reeves, hi, it's Carter. I just wanted to ask who owned this apartment before I moved in. 1 second, papers shuffled. It says here the owner was Adam Kern. What? Yes, he was the last tenant. There was an accident 3 years ago. The apartment stayed empty until you moved in 3 years ago, exactly when I had arrived. I didn't know what to say. I hung up, sat down by the door to his room and stared at the wall. Time kind of disappeared. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. And then I heard it, a soft click from the hallway. The sound of a key turning in the lock. Then, slow footsteps. Careful. Quiet. I stood up, every muscle tense, looked into the hallway. Nothing, just the front door, closing by itself. I walked over, checked the lock, closed. From the inside, no trace of anyone. Since that night, I never rent large apartments anymore, especially the ones with extra rooms, and I never, ever sublet them.